Hi, this is Chris Hagan, and welcome to the Jefferson County Growth and Development. I'm sorry, I know we changed our name, but I've said Jefferson County Growth and Development forever. What's the new name, Jefferson County Development? Growth Association. I was at that meeting when we changed it. We're out here at Jefferson College, and it is our legislative forum. We've got 4 of our state reps that are going to talk about the recent term that they just had here in Jeff City. I have to say, I was in Jeff City last week. My son competed in the state track meet for Festus High School. I had driven past Jeff City. I had never actually gotten out and walked around Jeff City. Jeff City is really a small town. On one side of the main street, you got the Capitol, and on the other side is the county courthouse. And that's about it. There's not that much else around there. So I don't know what y'all do all the time up there. There's hardly any place to shop or anything. But it's a very nice city. It was really neat. I meant to go inside the Capitol because I really wanted to see Rush Limbaugh. So anyway, I didn't make it in. But anyway, he's not a Jefferson Countyan, but he's close. So I do have to say congratulations to the Jefferson College Vikings baseball team. And holy cow, I would like to buy a little stock in that Ford guy. I think his stock's going to go up better than my Ford stock's done. So that kid seems like he's hitting a home run about every third or fourth at bat. Unbelievable. So he'll be a great alumni to have in a few years. So with that, I'm going to introduce our president, our exalted ruler. He's going to come up in just a second, but if we could, I have the American flag here to my left, and we could stand up real quick, do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm not going to be talking into the microphone, so everybody else gets to talk really loud.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat. Dan Govro, come on up. And while Dan's on his way up, we want to say thank you to Jefferson College for allowing us to have this here. We also want to thank other sponsors, Ameren, Home Service Oil, Sheet Metal Contractors, and Jefferson Regional Hospital. Now, everybody in Jefferson County knows the economy has been tough everywhere. And that's definitely been felt with this organization. And this is our president right here. And I served 2 terms as president. I know Troy Harden out there, he served 2 terms as president. There's a bunch of people that have been president of this organization. No one's worked harder than this guy has. So let's give a big round of applause to Dan Govro.
Thank you very much, but it isn't me, really. I'm just trying to guide the thing. I have a lot of board members that have been very helpful. We have struggled, as everyone knows. We changed the organization. We've made it a different group. And Ann Portel and Mindy Thomas and Charlie Irvin, without those people, we wouldn't be doing these events. We've done as many events as we've always had, maybe even more. And we're trying to do some other things that will get us on the map, and we want to promote Jefferson County in the best way we can, and to do that, we have to raise some money. So that's what we're trying to do, and with all the help of the board members, we're going to do that, and we need membership, and that's a big issue that we have to work on is membership, because we need members. Some of the things we've got coming up, and that's what I wanted to announce, we have a golf tournament coming up June 18th, and I think we need sponsors, we need players, and we need everything on that. So big, right now, jump on that because it's coming up fast. We'll have a quarterly meeting coming up, probably August the 23rd. You'll have to watch for that. It's tentative right now. We're going to be at the Jefferson College North Campus, and what we're trying to do is a business topic that will benefit you, where you evaluate your business and look at who's in charge of what, and make your business better and make it grow. Jeffersonian Awards, where we award the people in Jefferson County for having the biggest or best companies and the best organizations. That'll be September the 20th. We're going to do something different this year we've never been before, and we're hoping it's going to be a big success. In conjunction with the Jefferson College Foundation, which gives away the scholarships, we're going to do a car show October the 6th on the college campus. We think it can be a very big event and grow even bigger in the next couple of years. And we think this is something that's not been done around the county this size. And we're hoping to have a huge car show, bigger than the Easter Sunday car show. The last thing is the Jefferson Growth Association Holiday Party. We had that started last year with the legislators, and it's a good time to come and meet your legislators and talk to them. They'll sit with you and be around, and it's kind of a holiday party. It'll be really good, and that'll be November the 29th. So keep those in mind. Keep us in mind. If you know somebody that's not a member or you want to be a member, get a hold of one of the board members, and we'll get you signed up, because we do need members, and we appreciate you coming this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. All right, again, we got 4 of the state representatives here. First up is going to be John McCarty. He is a Republican. He's got 5 minutes. And then after that, we're going to have Joe Fowler. We'll follow up. All right? And then after that, after you're through, then I'll shake your hand, then you can sit down, then I'll introduce you. Okay. Got it? All right.
Do we have to shake hands? We could hug. Let's just stick with the handshake. Well, thank you. My name is John McCarty, and this legislative year was interesting. It was challenging. We obviously had to cut some money from the budget again. However, we did come through with a balanced budget and without raising taxes. And so we're very proud of that. The challenges that we face for next year are going to be much the same, I believe. We're not going to see a huge increase in revenue. So there's probably going to need to be some tough decisions next week, but we appreciate very, very much those of you who have made it to the Capitol and have come and expressed your concerns and your opinions on different programs and different issues, and we've tried very hard to work to keep those things in effect. One of the things that I'd like to say this morning is that your state representatives, whether they are Republican or Democrat, have worked very hard together. We have been a team, and I think both sides of the aisle have come together on issues in Jefferson County and tried to represent our districts, tried to fund some money for the ports, even though that was taken out by some senators. We tried very hard to get that in, and I think that fight is still going to go on. We're already planning for next year so that we can try to get some of that money in there and try to get that to happen. The port is probably one of the largest economic engines that we have that we can do on the eastern side of the state here that can really create some real jobs. I believe the money was taken and put toward a couple of bridges, that's great. We need bridges, but when you build a bridge, that's it. There's no more jobs after that. So we're gonna fight very hard. We've already, some of us have already been talking to leadership and trying to get some things in place so that we can readdress that issue next year. One of the other things that we did that I was very pleased with was we fully funded the veterans' homes. Our veterans were in kind of a state of disarray. They were looking at possibly having to close some homes. The list for veterans to get into veterans' homes was growing exceedingly long, and so by reallocating some money from our casinos and doing some things like that without cutting education, we were able to fully fund those veteran homes and take care of our veterans. And I think that's probably to me, probably one of the best accomplishments that we could have done this year. We came to a compromise on some workman's comp issues. Workman's comp has kind of been in disarray for several years. One side wanted to give all the benefits to business, the other side wanted to give all the benefits to labor. Your Jefferson County reps kind of brought everybody to the table and kind of made everybody sit down and talk it out. And so we came to some good compromises there where business interest and labor interest were both satisfied with the results. And sometimes what you do in Jefferson City is not so much what you pass, but what you get rid of and what you stop from happening. And so we did a lot of that. We We actually decreased the size of government. We cut about 60 different programs this year that were unfunded, unnecessary, different mandates, different things on businesses and small businesses and things like that that needed to be done away with. So we were able to accomplish that. We also made a provision in there for rules, for administrative rules to be reviewed every 5 years. This way, if somebody creates a rule and then it's not working like they want to, or it's an undue burden on business or business interests, then it becomes able where people who have an interest in that rule can voice their opinions and possibly get that done away with. And so with that, I'm just very, very thankful to be serving Jefferson County and the 90th district and soon to be the 97th district. And so with that, I will relinquish it to someone else. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that was right at 5 minutes. It was absolutely perfect. Hey, I want to say thank you to Stuart McMillan over here from KJFF Radio. If you ever happen to see him and his wife out, just notice that they are McMillan and wife. I love that show. All right. Kirk Mooney's out there. He's the radio station manager. I love him because he laughs at all my jokes. And, of course, we got Dr. Kaminsky there. Doc, hold up your cell phone. Aw, he has a flip phone. I mean, technology is changing everything. I mean, the iPhones, we have the iPads, college books are all on the iPhones, everything. Everything with the technology is just amazing. And the Jefferson County Library is doing a live blog. Did you like that segue? And Jefferson County Library is doing a live blog right now, and Meredith McCarthy is back there typing away. Hagan. All right. So next up, from the 104th District is Mr. Joe Fowler, Jr.
Good morning. It's good to be back again. And we was looking around earlier. It's kind of, in one way, it's sad. But whenever your oldest, long-serving legislator's here, and he's only got 5.5 years, kind of makes us wonder, how we know what's going on in Jeff City to start with. When Paul came up, he noticed we were sitting, different, and he goes, shouldn't you guys be on the left and we'd be on the right? And actually, like John said, we probably should be mixed up a little more, because when it comes to Jefferson County, as he mentioned, we may disagree on certain issues on the floor philosophically, but at the end of the day, if it was good for Jefferson County, we always work together as a group. And I wanted to thank Paul too, and John. Toward the end of the session, myself, Ron Casey, and Tim Meadows will be leaving next year, and he got somebody to host a dinner for us going out, and so it was a bipartisan thing. We all had dinner together, and it was a good time. So I appreciate that he did that for us. On the issues, I think all of us were probably going to hit on the dedicated veterans funding. That, to me, was one of the most accomplishments this year that I was proud of. Also, as he mentioned with the budget issues, we were able to do some things, and even the state employees on the low end of the ladder, after 3 years or longer, will get a modest increase in their wages, which is probably ate up by health care and everything else, but they deserve that, and it's about time we did that, and we did it without raising taxes also. But, along those lines, there was one other issue that came up that I hope the governor signs off on that we did accomplish, and that was something that the court overturned on the sales tax for auto dealers if they buy their cars out of state. And before session was even over, we were getting flyers from out of state in Illinois saying, come to Illinois, save this much on your car. And it was debated that this was probably a tax increase if we put it back in. Well, it only left after 40 years. It only left a few months ago. So I think it's just putting the status quo back in, and it's good for our dealers and jobs in this side of the river and in the Kansas City area, even probably more than here. But at the end of the day, I hope the governor does sign that, so that'd be my request to him today. But the other thing is, we are going to have discussions about how we fund things. Education was flat, pretty much. Most of the programs were pretty flat, and the economy hasn't really picked back up yet, but there are things out there that we need to be talking about, whether it's streamlined sales tax. I noticed Illinois, and we don't want to go there as far as their budget, but I noticed they were getting ready to dump another $1 on their cigarette tax. You know, and Missouri has the lowest, one of the lowest in the nation on that. So I ain't saying we need to do it, but we need to have these discussions. I mean, we can't keep pitting like we did earlier this year, where we're talking about cutting health care to the blind to fund higher education. And, you know, I had these discussions with Dr. Kaminsky up in Jeff City. You know, that's just not the way we want to fund education, is to take from those at the most vulnerable. So it was an interesting year on one issue that maybe some of the industrials, bigger industrials, were interested in. We did pass a House concurrent resolution, which we generally think those are just something that make you feel all warm and fuzzy, but I know everybody here voted for it, but House concurrent resolution 49, which myself and Speaker Tilley had signed off on, was for the mercury air standards for coal-fired plants and stuff. It was going to have a huge impact on the entire region. If the EPA implements this issue, about half the coal plants would probably not be able to retrofit to the specifications. So that was sent off to encourage our congressional delegation to take care of that. But anyway, it's been a pleasure to serve, and I look forward to serving even longer. The 104th District, I ain't sure is the 116th or the 115th now, whichever part you live in. And I hope to be back next year, maybe in a different capacity, and since this isn't political, I ain't going to talk about that. So, but anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you. Good job. Good job. Good job. Thank you very much. Also want to thank Jefferson College again for allowing us to have this here. KJFF, JCTV. It is amazing, all of the people that watch JCTV. A huge asset to the community, you know, that should not be overlooked. We also want to thank Ameren. Can I say Ameren UE for those old people that can't remember that they changed hands? Home Service Oil, David Mangelsdorf, past two-time, maybe three-time president of this organization. Great guy. Sheet Metal Contractors, the Crodinger family, and of course Jefferson Regional Hospital. What? Okay, Jefferson Regional Medical Center. They've been in the news here lately. The hospital and the college, I think everybody agrees, is the two biggest assets to our community. Probably one bigger asset than both of them combined that just completely gets ignored is the river. And when you talk about port cities, you always think of East Coast, West Coast, but Mobile, Alabama, you got all those cities along all those Great Lakes that are port cities. There is no reason why Jefferson County, right in the heart of the United States, I mean, it would be a major game changer for us, and I am somewhat appalled that the money went to bridges when we got the governor who is from Jefferson County. We got Doe Run, you know, fitting the bill for a bunch of this stuff. They're trying to build a new plant. I mean, what more can we possibly do other than to write all the other state representatives? This is one of the few things I've ever been involved in where everybody from all the other cities are for it. I mean, we've had other projects talk about coming to town, and, well, that's not in my city, or that's not in my district, I'm not going to talk about it. This is one thing that it's amazing. All the Jefferson Countyans can pretty much agree on. So it's not over yet, so hopefully we'll get her back up and rolling the next session. So Paul Whelan, are you the senior representative here?
From the majority.
From the majority side? Okay, the majority, okay. Well, from the 102nd district, and I'm not sure what district it's going to be in next time, Republican, Paul Whelan.
All righty, well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today. I was going to go on a different track, but I do want to talk about ports just for a minute since you brought that up right before we came up. The ports passed out of the House by like 144 to 1 vote. The Senate is where we had our difficulties at. And instead of blaming any one particular senator or gang of 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, how many there were, I think the bigger problem stems from how term limits have changed the way business is done in the Capitol. And I will tell you, I was all for term limits back in 1994 when we passed them. But seeing what they've done to the attitude, how people will work together and how they'll compromise or not compromise is pretty dramatic. In the older days, when somebody became a senator, a lot of times they looked at that and said, well, I may be here for 40 years. I'm going to find a way to play nice with the other kids in the sandbox. We've got term limits now of 8 years, and we've got many of the legislators up there, and I see it more in the Senate than I do the House, to where they just refuse to get along with their neighbors, thinking, well, I'll just run out the clock and this won't get done on my watch and somebody else can pass it. That's not good for the state. In the House, where term limits have kind of affected things badly, is we have an 8-year term limit too, and a lot of times I see people, when they get to year 5, 6, or 7, where they're most effective, they have to look out, well, what's the other opportunities out here? I'm at a dead end where I'm at now. I don't know what the solution is. It's easy to say something's broken when you don't have a solution. Maybe going to a 12-year limit instead of 8-year might be the solution. Maybe a way of changing the leadership of the House, where you had a speaker or a Senate pro tem be limited to their amount of time, might work out better. But I have seen the dramatic effects of it now. Like I said, I'm all for them, I voted for them, but I do see the impact of those. The other thing I was wanting to talk about just a little bit is, I know John and Joe kind of gone over different things that have gone on in the session. I was going to take a minute and kind of just tell you the process of a bill. How much time do I got left, do you think? 3? Okay, I can do it in 3. Because it takes a long process to get a bill through. I passed a bill this year, and I was going to kind of give you kind of the inside baseball, how it went from here to there. The bill I passed, the first part of it was, my wife and I, we have an insurance agency. Every year, I send in a $100 check for my license, she sends in a $100 check for her license, and the agency sends in a $100 check for its license. And I got talking to her one day, and most of our bills we pay electronically now, like a lot of people I'm sure do here in this room. And all the big companies, whether it be Ameren, UE, our telephone company, they all take their payments electronically because it's more efficient. Well, my wife and I started talking, we said, I wonder what room there is in Jefferson City that has people that open up all these envelopes and process these checks. Did a little investigating and found out that there's 144,000 licensed insurance agents in the state of Missouri. That's just one segment, okay? There's all kinds of other licenses and legal registrations that have to be done. So when I went to Jeff City, I said, well, I'm going to try to say the state has to accept electronic payments. So that was the premise of my bill. So I filed the bill, and we were able to get it out of committee, got it onto the floor, passed out of the House by 143 to 1 vote, or 149 to 1 vote. There's 1 vote against it. I also passed a bill that was a consent bill that would allow the county health department to make their payments electronically. They're, again, trying to be more efficient. The bills go over to the Senate, and they languish there for a while. Comes back from the Senate that if I allow another senator to put some language that he has on my bill, we can get a committee hearing. So we get the committee hearing, the bill comes out of committee, but since I was going to change the bill, I put my 2 bills together. Languishes some more. On the Senate floor, one of the aforementioned senators, not naming names, threatened to kill the bill because he didn't like, not my part of it, but the part that the other senator put on. So this goes all through the session. Eventually it came back out of the Senate with different language on it than the original senator wanted, but somebody else put language on there. And a lot of times in Jeff City, when you get into waning days, people are looking for vehicles to put their amendments and stuff onto. So the bill finally came back over to the House side with an amendment that I could live with, and we were able to pass it out at 12:15 in the morning on one of the nights that we stayed till 2 o'clock. But the process is long and it's arduous, and it's that way for a purpose. But it's kind of interesting to me how it's not as simple as you think you have a good idea, and you file the bill, and you think, okay, now it's done. There's so many steps that have to go through to get it passed. And so many other people that want to put their fingers on it or put stuff in, take stuff out of it. But I just want to give you a different perspective on that. I thank you for your time, and I enjoy serving the people of Jefferson County. I look forward to doing it in the future. Thanks.
It is always fascinating when you hear how stuff works, and what he was talking about, where you wait there to the very end, you know, to start putting stuff in. Yeah, that's a real trick to that. One of the people that I'd like to say a special hello to is Mr. Kenny Waller. He is our county executive, and we'll all, thank you.
Nice hair, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. He's talking about my haircut. I'd like to say thank you to all my friends. There's a few of you here. A bunch of guys got together and decided for me to have a haircut, and they raised $8,000 for charity for me to get a haircut. And for everybody that donated money, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about shaving. All right, next up is the last speaker. He will talk for 5 minutes, and then we'll open it up to any questions. You'll ask me the questions. I'll repeat it for the TV and the radio, and then they'll decide who answers it. So help welcome up Mr. Ben Harris.
Well, first, I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to be here. One thing about going last, everybody else uses all your material up, and you don't have much else to say. So I'll go over a few things. I'm Ben Harris, State Representative for the 110th District. I'll be running for the 118th District. They keep changing everything on you. Just when you figure out where you're at and the people in your district, they change it all over, and you got to start over again. It makes it kind of difficult, but it's pretty neat. And this is kind of my first session. And it's definitely a learning experience. I know people get elected up there and they want to go up there and change the world. They want to do all these things, and that just doesn't happen that way. It's a very complex process up there. It takes a lot of time and work and energy. It's just kind of neat to see how everything goes between the committees and on the floor, and you can think a bill is dead and it's gone, and then you get to the last couple of days of session, and all of a sudden, poof, there it is. It gets amended onto something, and then you're voting on it in the middle of the night, and you haven't really had a chance to even look a lot of stuff. And a lot of these bills, seems like really all the work's done in the last couple of weeks of session. Why don't we just skip the first couple of months, and then we could get it all done in the last few weeks? Because the first couple of months that we were up there, it's like, well, let's get going here, and they kept moving around. But in those last couple of weeks, they just fly through stuff, and which is kind of difficult. They get to the last week or so, and everything starts going to these conference committees. And then they come back out of the conference committees, and you don't know what's in it, what has been changed. And what kind of frustrated me is that the last week there, they wouldn't even recognize people to ask what was the changes. We'd stand up and just want to know what was changed in committee, and they wouldn't call on you. They just PQ everything. And we even, as the minority party, we even do a PQ pool and how many PQs they're going to have, because we had like well over 100 of them. And that's when they stop debate and they just force it to a vote, and then they make you vote on the bill without even having a chance to discuss what's in there. So that's kind of frustrating sometimes. And so it's a learning experience. I was glad I got the opportunity to be up there for these 2 years. Hopefully get to stay up there a few more years. I know term limits, they talked about that earlier. They are kind of frustrating. People, just the time you get the knowledge and get the connections, and there's so much to learn. I mean, there's such a learning curve there. I mean, you have to be an expert on like everything across the board. And a lot of groups and organizations, they got a certain topic that they deal with, and then we have to deal with everything. And it's really, they really throw you right in there. I mean, after my election in November, when I won, I took office, and in January, it automatically, I mean, as soon as the election was over, I was getting phone calls left and right, and they expected me to be an expert on everything across the board. And honestly, I tell people, I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to go look that up and look into that. And so that can be very difficult. There was some legislation we did get done this year I thought was pretty good, and some things that should have got done that didn't get done. But that happens every year. I know one thing that we needed to work on, which we did, and hopefully we do next year, and the governor stated in the State of State address in January, was that for an ethics bill. Right now, Missouri is the only state in the country where you can take unlimited campaign contributions and unlimited gifts from lobbyists, special interest groups, and political action committees. And that's just not right, in my opinion. And we need to get something put in there for some ethics laws, and it didn't get done this year. There was good bills that were filed. They never even got an opportunity to move. So hopefully next year we can get that done. And I know it seems like in an election year, they kind of do the least amount as possible. They don't do anything really too much because they don't want anything high priority where they can be used against them in election campaigns. So I mean, that's just the way it is. Not much we can do about that. So hopefully we get some more stuff done this year. And I see I got my little sign up here already. And I want to leave some time for questions and everything else. So I'll turn it back over. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. All right, so now it leaves some time for questions. If anyone has a question, just raise your hand. And I see Mr. Govro has a question.
Yeah, and I want to thank the House for the support of our court, because they did what they needed to do. It's too bad the Senate didn't follow through. but we're going ahead anyway. But I did want to ask, which one of you guys that's still up there is going to tackle the term limits? It is a problem. It was a good idea, but it's too short. Time you guys figure out where the bathroom's at, you're out of there. And I think it's time we need that change, and it's going to take somebody to drive that.
Okay, so I'm just going to reiterate, first of all, he said thank you very much to the House for all their work on the port, and the Senate, not so much a very big thank you. Which might be why the two senators didn't show up today. So we'll have somebody respond to that, whoever y'all decide. But the main question was term limits. Are they too short? Should we get rid of them completely? Go ahead.
Well, the one issue with the term limits is obviously that was voted on by the people. And so anything that we change, I believe, would have to go back before the people. I know that there are a couple of ideas that are floating around. One of them came through committee last year, never made it to the House floor, but I'd venture to say that that's probably going to be the idea that comes forward. And what that does is currently we have 8 years in the House, 8 years in the Senate. And you can serve those however you want to. So if you serve 6 years in the House and 8 years in the Senate, you can come back to the House for 2 years. And so the idea is to change that to a total of 16 years. So it doesn't matter if it's 8 in the House, 8 in the Senate, you could serve 16 years in either body. And that's probably the idea. I think that most of the parties have agreed that that's probably the best solution. It keeps the essence of the term limits in effect, but it gives somebody enough time in one particular body to be able to learn the ropes, get their legislation through, gain enough seniority to be able to accomplish some things. And so that's probably something that the voters will see in the next few years. Does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thank you. I like 16. Do we have a rebuttal?
Just a comment.
A comment? Joe Fowler?
And John was right on that, and that 16 years has been floated out there, also 12 has, but I can tell you this, from being up there in 6 years, every time one of those bills come up even to modify term limits, and our problem is similar to what we had with Prop B, last year, with the puppy mills and stuff. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but there was a lot of things not in that bill. That legislation, similar to term limits, is wrote by out-of-state organizations from the East Coast or the West Coast, and the first piece of mail you get when those bills start hitting the calendars or the committee hearings is some group from U.S. term limits, and I don't even know what their address is, but it's a national organization that's opposed to repealing any type of term limits or modifying them. So that's part of the problem we run into. You don't know who these groups are that are coming down the pipe after you, but I think fixing them to 16-year was the most common fix among everybody that's in the legislature, and I think it was, I think it's a good idea to give people the opportunity to stay where they're more comfortable, where they learn the system, and if they want to move on, they can. So I just wanted to let you know why that sometimes pops up. That those are the first groups, no matter what the issue is. They're generally a national group that's coming in, putting pressure on people to keep things status quo or to make changes that we don't always think are in the best interest of the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Kenny Waller, all the way in the back, had his hand up first.
I have a question. Where do you guys know about the ruling that the Supreme Court handed down with that street versus the DOR and that House bill and the Senate thing that passed that Nixon said he was going to veto? Do you guys know where that stands? I know you guys signed all of your things, I guess, yesterday and sent it on to the governor. Have you guys had any more understanding if he's going to veto that, sign it, or just not sign it, let it go into effect? Because obviously that affects all of us that don't have use taxes in the state, and we're one of the counties that don't, so that can severely impact our budget. Do you guys have any idea where that's going?
Okay, the question had something to do with the street versus the DOR or something. Somebody want to kind of come up and explain, because I'm pretty well informed and I don't know what that is. I am familiar with use tax.
Well, that was the Supreme Court ruling that was handed down. That was the ruling.
That was the Supreme Court, okay. All right, Joe Fowler?
Obviously not an expert in this, but I did mention it earlier, it might have been right before you came in. That was one of the issues that I urged the governor to please sign off on, or else just let it become law without a signature, because he did threaten to veto it. But I know a lot of the counties and municipalities around the state are going to suffer big time if we don't get that fixed. And that's just really where it's at. There's no, it's up in the governor's hands now, and he can either, those are his two options, or I guess three: sign it, veto it, or let it become law without a signature.
So if he vetoes it, do you guys have a veto session set up that you go back?
Veto session is the second week every September, or the first full week, whichever. In September, we have a veto session scheduled. It'll be up to leadership, I guess, in the House and the Senate if they have the votes to override, but we have to show up to go through any bills that are vetoed. I know there were 2 vetoed early in session, and so I know there's bills out there that he's already vetoed that'll have to be looked at, so.
I mean, to me, that's a nonpartisan position, or nonpartisan issue, because you guys voted 32-0 in the Senate, and I think 125-20 in the House. So, I mean, you'd have enough to override a veto easily.
Right.
So, I mean,
But sometimes holding the veto votes, we need 109 in the House to override, so it's a super majority. And so that isn't always as easy as it sounds. In the Senate, I don't know the numbers exactly, but I think it's like 13 they need to, or 13 to kill it. I would suggest calling the governor's office now to try to avoid that situation, and just let him either make it become law by not signing it, or just sign it and let's get it fixed. The argument was it's a tax increase, and I mentioned that earlier. I don't feel it's a tax increase because we're just going back to the status quo, and if we don't fix this, there's going to be a lot of problems and a lot of business going out of state, and it's really going to hurt our dealerships along the borders.
well, we've determined that if it would go into effect, we would have to probably cut services and jobs in our county, because it would have a huge impact in our budget. It would have a huge impact in our budget on the dollar amount, but it would be up to that.
All right, thanks.
All right, Paul Whelan has something he wanted added to this.
Yeah, as far as Kenny on the override, even though there were 22 votes against it, and I was one of them against it, so we can agree to disagree at times, and I'm kind of in a strange spot being in the majority party up there agreeing with the governor. But even though we have 22 votes, a lot of those were Republican votes, and when you come back for a veto session, the parties tend to back their governor, even if they voted for it the first time. They'll be reluctant to go against their governor on a veto override. So I don't know what the chances of a veto override would be, but I'm not sure the governor's going to veto it for sure or not. I know their office contacted me and wanted to know what my position was, why I voted against it. But so I think they're still debating what they're going to do with it. But it's just a difference of opinion. Like Joe said, I look at it like a tax increase. Every county and city can come back and put it on the ballot and ask their citizens, do we want to have this use tax, and then pass it? I think that's the proper way to do it. I know it's been, like Joe said, for 40 years it's been done this way, but just because something's been done that way forever, to me, doesn't make it right. But like I said, I'm kind of on the opposite side of that one, but I want to let you know kind of about the veto and what I thought the chances of a veto override would probably not be that great.
Thank you. On the same thing, because I still don't fully understand what y'all are talking about. But being probably the only retailer that anybody even in the listening audience knows, because all the retailers are gone. One of my big competitions are the people from out of state. So you've got the state of California, Oregon, Washington, New Jersey. You got all these different states that if you buy something over the internet, you have to pay their state sales tax. Is that something that you were talking, or is that completely different?
Basically, if you go to Illinois to buy a car.
So this is all about car dealers.
Well, cars, RVs, boats.
Cars, RVs, boats. Okay, anything with a title, all right.
Yeah, you go buy it in another state, you come back here, you don't have to pay the local tax.
Okay. Don't have to pay local tax. So if that happens, you have to pay the local
You come
tax.
back to
All right.
Jefferson County, you do not have to pay the local
Okay.
tax. That's huge.
So what I'm saying is if you buy a computer, you buy a book, you buy whatever, furniture, you also don't have to pay tax if you buy it over the internet. So it's the same thing, much, much, much bigger scale.
And we lose a lot of money on that too.
Billions. But I don't know whether Missouri needs an extra $1 billion. I mean, honestly, we all seem to be doing quite well without it. I got their attention now, didn't I? Mindy, you had a question.
Yes, and listening to the way that bills are processed and the way that you get things done, it seems to me that it would be hard for you to manage money because obviously you need funding for things that get passed. And also to manage the rules and regulations, you know, because if you have something included in this bill and you don't have time to research what's previously been done. So I was wondering if there's been any consideration in trying to simplify how that's done. So, I mean, it may take longer to get things done, but in hindsight, you know, when you look 5 years down the road, you're not gonna have to you're creating more work for yourself down the road if they consider simplifying the process at all.
So what you're saying is changing everything on how they do the process. So,
Just don't put amendments on the bills.
yeah. Well, I remember George H.W. Bush always asked for the line item veto, and he didn't get that either. So, but I mean, anybody want to answer that? I'm not an elected official, so therefore people really don't care what I say.
I'll take a stab at this one because I can kind of relate to what you're saying. One of the things that very much aggravates me is when these bills get so huge. They have so many different things in them. What I try to tell myself always is I do have a red button on my desk. Okay, the green button isn't, you know, I have a red choice too. And a lot of times I will vote no on a bill just because it has too many different things in it. I don't understand it. Okay, the problem is the institutional one. This is the way it's always been done. I'll tell you a little story is this last session, we had 55 brand new freshmen come up. And I started talking to some of them, and of course the frustration was, you know, they put all the stuff in the bills, we should just vote no. And I said, yeah, you're right, you should just vote no. And I had about 20 or 30 of them that agreed to vote no if a bill got too big. And what happened was then I started losing them because they come back to me and said, well, you know, John said that I could put my amendment on his bill, but of course if I put my amendment on his bill, I would look pretty dumb voting no. Okay, so it's an institutional thing that just happens, and now I would say there's probably 10 or 12 people that are that like-minded that were 30 a year ago, because in order to get something done, sometimes you have to play the game, and so they play the game in order to get their legislation passed. But I still, just in principle, a lot of times I will vote no once a bill gets too big, and a lot of times I'm voting against good stuff, but it's just, to me, I think the right way to do it is to have every individual thing vetted through a committee hearing, through the due process. As Ben was saying about these committee reports, they'll come back and they'll put language in there that was never even in a committee hearing. Nobody knows anything about it, and they'll slip it into the conference committee report, and then you've got very limited time to do it. If everyone would vote no, it would solve the problem, but I don't think there's the political will up there to do that, so.
And you can't make any kind of change to the way that it's done to, like, this is the deadline, or, now let me rephrase that, you can't, or nobody's tried.
I don't think the institution, the leadership and the people and the majority of the people rule, okay? In order to change a rule like that, you'd have to have 83 people agree to do it, and I don't see the political will to do that.
So has anybody tried?
Not as far as I mean, I tried a little bit, you could say, trying to get people to agree with that principle that I had, but like I said, I topped out at 30, a long way from 83. So.
Well, you get nothing done, or you get things done that you don't want done, that's why I was
Right.
asking.
Yeah.
Thank you. Another question, Dr. Kaminsky.
First of all, thank you for your support for higher education, both with the budget and with the transfer bills that have been enacted. Those are great measures. My question really is, how do we approach funding for education in general, higher education certainly, but given the financial climate, what should we as a system look at to make sure we maintain higher education or education funding?
And the question is the higher education funding, I'm guessing on the local junior college level as well as the state college level. On that same subject, Mizzou has been voted the #1 new football uniforms. I think there's over 20 different combinations of football uniforms, and they have a new logo. So everybody that has that logo, yeah, you gotta go buy a new one. It's like when the White Album came out on CD, you had to go buy it again. All right, so back to the education funding. Who would like to? All right, Ben Harris.
I'll take a stab at one of them here. Well, I know there's a lot of, the 2 years I've been up there, and I have multiple groups. Education is a very important issue for sure. And out of all the groups and organizations, which a lot of them I never even heard of before I went up there, not one of these groups has said, oh, we have plenty of money, we don't want any more money. Every single organization across this state wants more money, and the money is not there. And nobody wants to raise taxes, nobody wants to pay more, but everybody wants more services. And that just doesn't work. You can't have more services without having the revenue to pay for them. We have to balance our budget here in Missouri, not like the federal government who can just keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. So we can only spend what we have. And the only way to spend more is to bring more in. And I'm against raising taxes and anything like that too. And there's a few things we could maybe do, and they kind of talked about it earlier, was like the internet sales. And I think that's something that's going to be getting bigger all the time and by large amounts. And right now we don't collect any taxes on those internet sales. And to me, that's not really fair when you go down the store, a local store, and you buy a shovel or any kind of item and you pay taxes on that. You can buy the same thing over the internet and not pay those taxes. And so that's less money to the state. There's also a lot of tax loopholes out there that are kind of circulating around. And all these tax credits that we give out. We gave out around $700 million in tax credits to big corporations and organizations and stuff like that. And so maybe we need to go back and look at some of those things and see what kind of bang for our buck we're getting out of those things. Are we getting any kind of return on those hundreds of millions of dollars that we give away every year? I'm sure we do on some, but I bet there's a lot of them where we don't get much return on. And so maybe we need to go look at those and see how they're really working, and maybe use some of that money and give to education and some other areas. So I mean, it's a fine line. I mean, every organization across the state wants more money, but nobody wants to pay more. And so there's got to be, there's a line there, and so there's little areas we can do to try to bring some more revenue without raising taxes and stuff like that. And we need to control maybe some of these tax credits and the money that we give away. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Back there in the back. Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Herman. I'm the Veterans Representative for the state of Missouri and Jefferson County. I'd like to thank you for what you did for the veterans with the housing. I'd like you to go one step further. Veterans come out, they're highly trained. The federal government trains them, medics, MPs, airframers, the whole ball of wax. Their credentials are not recognized. They're out, they're already fully trained, paid for by the government. But if they want to be an EMT, or a police officer, or an airframer, they have to go back to school to get their credentials. Could you please look into the possibility of at least testing like you did a few years ago for truck drivers, and allow them to at least test and get certified in the areas they pass, so they can at least get partial recognition? We have almost 8,000 people unemployed in Jefferson County. That's down a lot from what it was, and it's not just because people have lost their benefits. Almost 1,400 people went back to work last month. But the veterans are coming back highly trained, and they're not recognized for their training. Can you look into it, please?
So the question is, and John McCarthy's going to answer this question, but the question is about, we have all these veterans coming back from the war, and we are still at war, and I think most every Jefferson Countyan knows that personally, whether we know the young men that have given their lives, or we know the young men and women that have gone over there and served, and I want to say a special thank you to them. So let's give them a big round of applause. So when they come back, their military training evidently doesn't necessarily count for a whole lot. So John, you want to answer that one?
Thank you for that question. And you and I have spoken on this before at another one of our breakfasts, and I actually filed a bill last year that would change that. It went to the committee and came out of committee fine. The state board of licensure is looking into that. There were some loopholes that they needed to close and needed to fix with some of the training that they receive in the military versus some of the requirements that, and I believe one of it was the national testing. And I think my bill, the way it was drafted, did not require them to be certified under the national testing, which was an error in our part in the drafting of the legislation. However, I have spoke with Dr. Kaminsky and several of our community colleges about when this legislation is passed, being able to develop programs to make up any training that is lacking so that they don't have to redo their entire certification and just to be able to get enough to be able to be certified nationally. So that is in the works. Hopefully I will be back next year and be able to finish that project for you. So yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Good to see things getting done for those men and women. Hey, I want to thank John McCarty, Paul Whelan, Joe Fowler Jr., Ben Harris. Give them a big round of applause. They're our elected officials. We all like to talk about politics and stuff, and it's neat to know the different men and the women that have had these positions in the past, and you find out how stuff actually works. You know, it's like an episode of Survivor, you know, if you ever watch that, where they tell one thing, but this is how stuff actually gets done. I also want to thank Ameren, Home Service Oil, Sheet Metal Contractors, and Jefferson Regional Medical Center. A big shout out to Ann Portell, Mindy Thomas, Danny Govro, and the rest of the board of directors. I know lots of people listen to KJFF have got lots of stuff to sell. And Swap Shop's going to be coming up. I'm guessing Jeremy Vita is going to be there sipping some coffee, drinking, listening to some blues music, and taking some calls. So thanks, Dr. Kaminsky, for allowing us to be here at Jefferson College. We will be back in the fall with everybody that's running for office. We've got possibly 3 different nights that we're going to be doing this. We got 2 for sure, and then if we can work something out with the congressional candidates. Jefferson County has always had 1 congressman, and we will now have 3. So we're trying to get them together and coordinate their busy schedule. So once again, on behalf of Jefferson County, whatever we're called now, Jefferson County Growth and Development, I'll be calling it Jefferson Memorial Hospital too. So I think we're all in the same boat. Thank you very much.